Hey guys, Darren Carr here, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome back to our round review series. If you haven't seen this series before, just a quick summary of what we do around here. So firstly, I will go through how my team performed for the week, giving my +3 and -3, reviewing my captain options, and also looking at how my trades performed over the week. And then I'll go through each of the games, just summarising how each of the popular players went, who you should consider getting to your side, and who's on the watch list to be considered for your side down the line. So let's sort of just get into it, I guess. Don't really have too much to say for this one. Firstly, just wanted to say, hopefully everyone had a good gather round. I know I personally did. Met up with all the Hat Chat boys and all that at the Hat Chat Live. That was really fun, just to meet everyone in person. And yeah, it was a good night. Hopefully everyone that went enjoyed it. It was also quite nice to meet some of you subscribers, which was definitely a memory I will never forget. So thank you for all those that came up to me and said some nice things. And yeah, it's good to hear the good feedback about the content. So happy to hear about that. But let's talk about some fantasy for this week. So big scores for this round. Obviously back to best 22. We saw some big scores. So I scored a 21.69, which I thought was pretty good, but I think it ended up being about pretty par. So at the end of the day, I'm still pretty happy with that. Moved up about 2,000 spots, just into the top 4,000 now. I was hoping to have a bit bigger of a jump, but overall pretty happy with how the team is at the moment. With just probably feel like I'm one step behind the top line guys, but yeah, still pushing closer. And yeah, pretty happy with that. So weekly rank of 5,834. So pretty good. Just mid-table, nothing too crazy, but not too far away. So probably was just a good captain option away from being around the top line guys. To be honest, just yeah, wasn't really worth seeking a big score for me. So let's just get into some +3s and -3s. I've given my +3. You can't really go past this bloke too much. This Bontebelly. Repaid the faith. It's been a pretty much common theme for my +3s last couple of weeks. So yeah, was really glad to see him back in his best form. 149, absolutely killed it. Featured in my captain, so unfortunately I didn't do it, but yeah, it was good to see him back at his best, and he looked really fit. So he's definitely put that ankle issue beside him, and yeah, no concerns there, and looks like he's going to average 120 from here. So definitely good for the owners that have kept him. Unfortunate for the 3K owners that did trade him out, but that's just the way fantasy goes. Unfortunately, you look at someone who wasn't doing so well, but now he's put up a massive score, and suddenly he's sort of the top 10 averaging player. So yeah, that's just what we knew Bontempelli could do. We just needed him to work his way into the game. So, but he didn't play any time forward, so no concerns there. But definitely +3 for him. My -3 was a bit harder to choose from. There was quite a few guys that have probably underperformed what I expect, like a McKercher, Jordan, but I've given it to Dan Rozee, and it probably wasn't his fault as such, to be honest. I was at this game being a Hawthorn supporter, and it was quite a frustrating one for him. It just seems like the ball always avoided his side of the wing, so if you watched that game, you would have seen him chop and change which wing he was on. It really didn't. He wasn't super consistent, but every time he sort of switched over, the ball sort of came to the opposite side. So I don't know if that's just a game style of Hawthorns, or even a Collingwoods that were trying to keep it away from that side of the ground, or wherever he was. I don't think that's the case. I think it was just a bit unlucky, but that's just the volatility in a wing role like his. So, but he saved it sort of late, got the 55 in the end. I think he had like a 16 or a 19 point last quarter, even though he was only on there for like maybe 6 or 7 minutes before being benched for 20 minutes. So if he wasn't benched for those last 20 minutes, it could have put up a 70, and then we wouldn't have been talking about him, right? So I'm not too concerned there. It's a bit disappointing that it has stopped his cash generation now. He's got a break even of 68, so definitely one you could jump off if you don't have too many other issues. But at this stage, I think I'll be looking at holding him, just with a few other things going on. So not too concerned there. But yeah, that's my thing of 3. moving on to my captain option. So in my preview series, I said I was going to go Max Gawn into Isaac Heaney. So Max Gawn put up a 109 on the Thursday night and was tossing and turning between taking it and risking it, but I just think it's a long season. 109. My line's usually 110. So not 110. It's 110. So I was 1 point off. I didn't see the worth risking it to get an extra point or an extra 10 points even. So I was more than happy just to take it and lock that away pretty early enough to worry about it too much. So and at the end of the day, it would have cost me a point anyway. So definitely a few people got burnt with not taking it, because I know a few people actually captained Tom Green following that, which did not work out for them, and quite a few did Isaac Heaney as well. So live and learn. That's the beauty of the fantasy game, you can back them in and have a bit of fun. So next thing I wanted to review, so my trades for last week. So I should put up a snapshot of what my trades were last week, but what it was Wilson to Thomas, and I also went Lazaro to Dempsey. So pretty happy with half of that trade, at least Lazaro to Dempsey worked really well. Was happy with the 72 from him on field. Was a little bit down on what I sort of expected. Didn't take as many marks as what was sort of I expected for his role, but yeah, it was a bit of a tougher matchup, a bit closer than expected. But the other side of things, Wilson to Dempsey, Wilson to Thomas really didn't work in my favour. Thomas obviously only came on to do the 15. Really disappointing. He got subbed out midway through the third. And yeah, Wilson actually put up a decent score in a 79 and probably has boosted his cash generation again. So it's a tough one when you're trying to move on some rookies and they can, they break even seem like they're going to stop at the cash generation, but just have a nice big score, and now they're off away again. So good to all those that held. But yeah, unluckily I have Harvey Thomas, which I think most people do. He's nearly 40% owned, so definitely not too far away from the pack. But those people that did avoid him probably have gone elsewhere and really secured something good. So what else do I need to talk about here? So reviewing my top 5 captains from last week. So I had Gawn number 1, who scored a 109. Had Bont at number 2 at 149. God damn, I can't talk tonight. Would have been really nice if I followed my own advice and went, Gawn into Bont. But yeah, at the end of the day, I took Gawn anyway. So had 3 at Heaney, 108. And then I had at 4, you would have seen that I had Butters and Rozee. Couldn't really split between them, but they both scored pretty well, and you would have been happy with either way. And then I had 5 at Grundy, which was a bit of the disappointing one. But overall, those 6, averaged 116. So not too bad. Probably one I missed out on was Steele. He went really well as well. And even a Marshall. Probably missed those 2 from the top 5. That should be considered. But yeah, not doing too bad with my captains. Pretty happy so far. I haven't had a below 100 captain so far. I think my lowest captain so far has been 107. So not too bad so far. Bit of trade talk for the round 5. Obviously, we've got. I'll move over this way. We're up to round 5. We're back to back best 18, and we've got a few players on the bye that are quite relevant. So we've got Sydney on the bye. So let's just have a quick look at some of the highly owned players. So obviously a lot of them are on my field. So we've got Grundy at 41%. You've got Isaac Heaney at 33%. James Jordan at 32%, which has dropped quite dramatically. And you've got Roberts as well at 40%. So would I be trading or holding these guys is probably the next question. And we've also got Goulden on the bench as well, that I don't have in my side. He's probably above 10%. That's all I'll probably talk about today. But Heaney, I'll start with Heaney. I think he is the clearest hold at this point in time. We saw Adams come in to the squad for Sydney, and it had no effect on Heaney. Actually, Adams played quite predominantly forward. I think he only had maybe like one or two CBAs. It was very minimal. I think it was only like 18%. It was it was nothing, but I think he had quite a low time on ground, which we'll look at when we get to the game. But it didn't have any effect on Heaney so far. So you're holding him, and he looks really damaging, and you not wanting to move off him when he's nearly averaging 120, being probably the best player in the competition for the first couple of rounds. So holding him, you'd be crazy to move off of him. Be very bold. The other three are probably a bit more contentious for me. I think James Jordan is the clear one to go. He's made his money. His break-even's up there now. He's done his job, so you can move him on. He's not scoring the greatest. He's just been plodding around with 60s to 70s. So if you had to hold him for another week, then it's not the worst thing. But he won't lose any. He shouldn't lose any coin this week. He won't lose any coin this week because he's on the buy. But it's not the worst thing if you had to hold him. But he's definitely the clearest one to go for me. Grundy is a bit of an interesting one because I'm quite torn on him because he has been doing okay. Like he's been, what is he average? 91. Obviously had the 53, which is pretty disappointing. But since then has averaged, mid 90s, which you'd be happy with, right? But just doesn't look good for the eye test for me. Like he's got quite high disposals, like 20 disposals for Ruckman is really good. 19 disposals, 22, 30, 22, 20, 23 disposals. He's just not getting other avenues. Like he's not marking very much. He's not tackling very much. He's giving away a lot of free kicks. So he's getting the hit outs. He's just he's not doing what we sort of expected from him mid-season. So definitely you could look to jump off him if you got the flexibility to do so. I'm personally looking to go up to Marshall this week if I can, but we'll get into my trades a bit later on. Roberts is probably the other one I am not too sure about because his break-even is getting a bit up there now. All it would take is one poorer game in round 6, and then he's pretty much stopped to his cash generation, and we have to jump off anyway, right? So a lot of people are saying you should hold him. I'm probably agree with them to some extent, but if the only way I'll allow it is if it gets you up to that guy that you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, we have quite a few rookie options that we're going to bring into. So if you can downgrade him to a rookie that's going to make some money, and then that on the other side of that trade that gets you up to that primo, then I could agree with that. You're getting that one step ahead of everyone else because at the end of the day, like I said, if he does go poorer in round 6, then everyone's going to jump off him, and you've already done that. So if you have nothing better to do, then you can do that. But at the end of the day, if he pops another, what has he been averaging? Well, obviously he's averaged 81, but let's just say realistically he puts up a 70. He's going to make a bit of coin. So toss and turn, you can probably get some money elsewhere at the same time. So, but that's where I probably sit with those players. Goulden, I'd definitely be holding. He's a primo. He's probably pretty much bottomed out in price now. He's obviously after having that poorer first game and even an 83 in the Richmond game, he's pretty much bottomed out with now a break even of 103. So he's going to start going up in cash again, and you expect him to go over $1 million. And it's probably a good buy, a good purchase play if you can get to him, but definitely not this week considering he has the buy. But I'd definitely be holding. Moving on to Collingwood, the other team that has the buy. Not too many relevant players here, probably just the one realistically. In Nick Dacos, and it's a tricky one, like I've probably been saying for the last couple of weeks. You've selected him as a starting position. I don't think anyone's traded into him. So I'd personally just be backing him in. He was quite fortunate to get to a 95 against a fin tag. I don't think it was too restrictive at the end of the day, and it was probably done us to again. It probably did it to us to again that we saw it in the preseason last season where he got quite restricted, but in the end of the day he didn't get that. Didn't get the worst of it in the end of the run because we were sort of expecting a sub 60 score and managed to get to a 95, which was good for owners. Didn't hurt yous, and probably I'd be looking to hold. He's just going to miss the week because everyone's going to be looking to get him in a couple of weeks' time anyway. So you might as well be one step ahead and hold him. I know you're going to be sacrificing a little bit this week, but I think we have the rookies to come on the field and, take the points anyway. Alrighty, well, that's all I sort of had for the strategy talk for this round. Let's just move straight on to the games, I guess. Starting with the Crows versus the Demons. I believe that's the first game, wasn't it? Yeah, cool. Getting my days mixed around. It was a long weekend for sure. So, alright, so moving on. Jordan Dawson put up 112. A lot of people had him as VC. You'd be pretty happy with the 112 from VC, and I think a lot of people took that. So you'd be pretty happy with that. Overall, it was a pretty low-scoring game, from my opinion. Like, only a couple of guys got over 100. No super stealing scores, just 112 being the top. So very unusual. I think both these teams are quite restrictive for most people. So it makes sense, I guess. Definitely keep an eye on Jordan Dawson. He's one that I'm looking at getting in at some stage early on in the season. So definitely on my eye, and I think I've identified an area where I want to sort of get him into, but just got to sort of get the trade sorted and start making some plans. Matt Crouch, people that have owned him did well. I think he was doing quite poorly, to be honest, in the first quarter. I think it was only 17 points, but managed to get to the 106 in the end. Again, low time on ground. Had the 30 disposals. He just seems to rack it up, and he does quite well. So you'd be happy as an owner. He's making a lot of coin, and probably too late to jump on now, in my opinion. No one else really to mention here. Obviously, Roy Laird just somehow gets it done, even though he's got a poorer role. Probably not someone I'm super considering at this point in time, just given the role change and the uncertainty of everything at the Crows at the moment. Saligo looked really good. He had a fair few CBAs. I'm just going to bring that up. Let me quickly go to that. He looked really good in there. Had a fair few CBAs from what I saw from the game. 59, which is quite crazy. Obviously, filled that role quite well. Don't know who he took. Oh, he took He took Sam Berry's CBAs and had a bit more of a split with Roy Laird and a few others. So I think Dawson got swung forward a little bit, which was a bit of a concern. But he still scored quite well. So he's definitely one to probably watch. I think it's listed at 650k. Probably a bit pricey for probably not a super high ceiling, but we'll keep watching it. Probably should have put him on the watch list for me. Moving on, the only other one I wanted to mention here was sort of Keeney. Obviously, he's gone back to back 90s now, and he's break even super low. I think it's in the maybe break even of 4 even. I'll probably look it up for you guys. Keane is not a Collingwood player. That would be why it's not showing up. A 6 break even. So he's gone back to back 90s, 99 and 98. Had super high marks. I think just we have better options now. A few other mid prices have put their hand up. But I don't blame you if you want to jump on. He looks really good and looks to have a roll back there. Just being a key defender, it's not one we typically go for. So I'm sort of staying away at this point, especially with its price range of being 500, a bit of a risk. Back to the game. The only one else here was that Burgess, for anyone that picked him up as a rookie, only scored the 18 and got subbed out. So a bit unfortunate there, and has probably stopped his cash generation. So look to move off if you can at some stage. Moving on to Melbourne. So a few fairly irrelevant people here we need to talk about. Max Gawn, as I said up the top, had a decent game. Actually killed it in the first quarter. I think he was on 40 something. 42 even, and really slowed it in the end. I think just coming off a shorter break, didn't sort of ran out of steam quite quickly, even though he had the high time on ground, just couldn't get around it. And Crows were sort of playing a game style, which you'll probably see a lot against Max Gawn, is they were trying to avoid kicking it to his side at all times. So it was just all one avenue around Gawn. It was just mainly getting the hit-outs, in the final half. So, but overall really well. If that's his floor game, then you got to be happy with that. Christian Petrarca did what he did again. He's probably just one underrated fantasy player that we don't consider, especially with Oliver not being at his best at the moment. Just is getting it done every single week. So probably one we should have started. but obviously having the bye probably was the reason why we didn't do it. Christian Salem, his role was changed back to the halfback again. Had no CBAs this week. Oh, not that one. Where is it? Melbourne. So very, very up and down with his role. And if you didn't move off him already, then I'd consider it. Caleb Windsor put up a decent score for those that held him, put up 61, so he's probably kick-started his cash generation a little bit more, and you probably hold him through to next week when he has his bye anyway, so would be happy with that. Billings put up another bad score. He should have moved off him last week, so if you still have him, move off of him. He's just going to lose some cash for you now. Don't think anyone has Clayton Oliver, but he's definitely on my watch list because he's getting super cheap at the moment. Started at over $1 million. We know how good he can be, just hasn't found that form and the confidence in the start of the season, so he's going to lose some bit of cash. So once we actually see something from him, then I think everyone's going to jump on because he's too good to be scoring this low. And Blake Howes was another disappointing score after I think a 25 last week and now a 30. He's just stopped all his cash generation. Oops, not that. His break-even is now up to 55, so more than likely he's probably going to lose a bit of cash next week. So if you can jump off him now, that would be ideal. He's got the bye next week anyway, so he would have to go either this week or next week. At this point, I think I'll be holding him unless team announcements change a few things and I end up changing my trades. But I think I'll just hold him for the week and take the loss a little bit. Hopefully, he can recover it a little bit. Moving on to the next game, we got Brisbane and North. A lot of fantasy relevant players here. Okay, 21 minutes. Dunkley obviously did really well. I think I didn't actually get to watch this game too much because this was when the live show happened. So was talking to a lot of people while this is on in the background. So I don't actually see his distribution throughout the quarters. But I know Lockie Neal got subbed out. I think at somewhere through the third quarter, so I wouldn't be surprised if in the last quarter, he had a big quarter and saved his score a little bit. I would have to sort of double check that, but definitely a pod if you're looking to jump on. Lockie Neal's having a lot of issues with hamstrings and a groin and stuff like that, so him being out only helps Dunkley. So look out for team news to see how long he is out for if you're looking to jump on a pod. Dane Zorko was one I did speak about a lot last week as I was looking to jump on, but ended up changing my trades a little bit. Did score quite well, 111. You'd be happy with that if you traded him in. Keep the goal. I think he was playing the half-back role. Again, I don't know. I didn't watch too much of this game, but I definitely feel that would be the case. He took the 8 marks, so you'd be pretty happy with that. The only flag I'll say again is that McKenna is out and is due back not this week but next week, so it'll be interesting to see how his role changes when that happens. Don't get me wrong, I still think he can score quite well even as a half forward. We've seen it, in the first couple of games for the season that he's was averaging, over 100. So I don't think it matters too much. With the tossing and turning of the role is concerning for me. That's all I wanted to say. Only other one I'll talk about here is Lohman. Scored a 678, so his kick-started his cash generation. I believe is 270k. 270k forward. Has had a poorer start, obviously 28, 23, and 18. And if we're going to learn anything from the Thomas situation is that don't just rely on one score. But in saying that, look at his time on ground. 20%, 37%, and 36%. So we know he can score. It's just he needs that time on ground. So, again, if he's named on field, then maybe you can jump into him as another rookie option. But I think we have a few other guys that are putting their hand up a bit more than he is, even though he's probably closer to top 22. So, just want to throw him in there. Moving on to North Melbourne, obviously, lots of guys here when you talk about Sheasel gets it done again, even against the tougher matchup. He's just the safest, even 120 guy now. Hasn't dropped below 120, which is ridiculous, and is the second highest scorer for the season now. So, it's just ridiculous, and to to think that a lot of us weren't considering him in the preseason is just crazy. He's obviously got that role, and we're really happy with that. So, but surprisingly, Charlie Comben, or however you want to say it, I'm terrible at pronunciation. Put up a 107 as a key intercept defender. So he is a bit on the radar for some coaches. So he's made the watch list. He's only priced at 387, so that is extremely cheap for someone that can put up a ceiling score like that. And his stat line wasn't hugely ridiculous either. Like, had 25 disposals, 8 marks, so he probably has a little bit less than that every week. But we know how much of that ball is down the back there, so if he can continue to put up scores like that, then he's definitely one we'll want to look to jump on. He's so cheap, and I can see people jumping on him. Doesn't look like too many people have done it so far. I think there's just a few other options and a few safer ones. But he's not a forward in this game. He's moved back as sort of like an intercept defender, sort of replacing Pink. So, yeah, he's really taken it with full strides, and he's going to make a bit of coin. Obviously, -3 break even, so look out for him. What am I planning to do with him? I think I'm going to leave it for a week, see how he goes this week. And then he's going to be real. He'll probably push up to about 450k if he goes well again. And then that's probably a decent area where I can go, where I'm looking to go double downgrade next week. I can go to him and just do a sideways flip to him, and he's going to make some coin and then go to another rookie. And he's going to be a fieldable option eventually. So give it one more week for me and see how it goes, if it's sustainable. We obviously know how volatile these key defender roles can be. So, but talking to some North fans, they believe he's more of an intercept defender, like a Sicily, rather than an actual key defender. So that could be really good for him. So definitely high on my radar, just not willing to jump on just yet. Xeri did really well again, absolutely killed it in the first quarter. I think he was on 55 points and just faded really late. I think he had 7 tackles in the first quarter, which was just ridiculous, and looked to be on for a monster and just faded really quickly. I don't know what happened, just ran out of steam too quickly, but you'd be happy he got to a 102. Either way, he's making some good coin. And you're not looking to jump off yet, because I don't... What is he up to? 753k. Break even still quite low, so he's still making a bunch of coin. Made 37k this week, so you hold it for a little while, especially during the buys. Luke Davies-Uniacke just scraped to a 90 again. That just seems to be him at the moment. Can't seem to crack the ton at this point in time, so if you had him still, you'd probably just be happy to hold him, aren't you? You'd probably have other issues where you'd need to fix up, where, a guy who's scoring a 90 you'd be happy with at the end of the day. But definitely as a luxury trade, if you want to move him on, then you could. Just doesn't seem to be getting it done at the moment. Tom Powell was an interesting one, because while watching this game, sort of watching the scores tick over, I didn't really realise how poor of a game he was having, because you only considered had the 14 touches, 0 marks, and had the 15 tackles, which he heavily relied on those to get the score he had. So happy he has that avenue to score against, but hopefully he doesn't make that a habit and actually gets his hands on the ball first rather than just constantly tackle, because that could lead to a disaster score. So, but happy he got there, definitely a hold, making some good money. So really happy with that. Fisher saved his score again. You're happy with an 83, so I'm not looking to move Fisher on. Sooner rather than later, I think he's going to pop a big score over 100 or 110. It's just, he works so hard to get the ball. Just needs his teammates to come along with him and feed him a bit more. Just there's so much ball back there, and there's so many other guys like a Sheasel, you got Scott, and you've got a McKercher, which we'll get into McKercher a little bit later. But yeah, those three probably take a lot of points off him, unfortunately. So reduces his ceiling. Zane Desmo recovered a little bit after a poor week last week, so if you're still holding him, his cash gen's going up and down again. Yeah, it's just what you're gonna expect from a a small forward like him. Obviously kicked the 1 goal too, so he's had a few shots and took a few contested marks, so you'd be happy with that. Coben McKercher played a lot more through the midfield, so had a bit of a poorer game. Probably wasn't quite ready for that step up just yet, I think. I can't even really know why he went through the midfield as such. Just, change something up. And just didn't look up to it. He looked a bit poorer, looked a bit slow. Only got the five tackles and a handful of touches, so definitely would be better off half back. And if he doesn't go back there soon, then it probably is one that we will probably have to jump off soon, because his break even is getting higher as we speak. Now it's up to 38, so one more poor game and he could be on the chopping block. But at the end of the day, he's made over 200k. He's done his job as a rookie, so it wouldn't be too hard to go from him to an underpriced underpriced premier. So, and finally George Wardlaw didn't get it done again. Just 49. Really disappointing for what we know he can do. It's just, this is what you got to expect from rookies that have one good week and one bad week. So, it's really up and down, unfortunately. So, if you still had him, then it's probably one you could palm off pretty easily and get to a bigger guy. Moving on to the third game, taking my time here, but not too many guys to talk about here. Rozee absolutely killed it. Three goals, 2, so he could have had an absolute day out if he kicked a bit straighter. Had the 36 touches, absolutely killed it in the first half. I think it was on like 95 at half time, so he was on track for a monster before sort of fading in the second half, which thankfully as a known owner didn't hurt me too bad. But Horn Francis is probably one that should have made the list as well, but I think he's just more of an impact player. Had low time on ground, which is very scary. Had the 31 touches, and he just looks like he's gone to a new level this year. Looks really fit and looks free, so he's just taking it all with his strides. What is he actually averaging? I'd say he's probably gone up a fair bit in coin already. 50k, so not huge. He only had one game, so 87 now, 111, averaging 99, which is crazy. Don't know if he averages that for the season, but maybe he can push closer to an 80 and get his price range closer to 800 if you're keen. Seems like a few people have done it, so all the power to you. Not one I'm particularly looking at just yet. It's just particularly with Ollie Wines due to come back in that midfield rotation. I don't know what he does. He spends probably a bit more time forward, as we've seen before. It's just unusual. They've got 5 sort of main guys that run through there, which is a bit of a tight squeeze, and it really reduces the ceiling of some of them. So, but it doesn't seem like Rozee is having any issues there. Butters, on the other hand, get it done again. Had the 26 touches, 6 marks, and 7 tackles. So, it was nice to see that he can score in other avenues this week with a few more tackles. I think it was game high tackles for that side. So, that was really pleasing to see, as he was not looking to have a great one, and just wasn't getting it done like his teammate, his co-captain was. So, but really happy to have him go there. Besides that, no one else really to mention, I don't think. Just looking through the names here. No one else I can really think of. Moving on to Essendon. My boy, Zachy Merritt, got it done again, 135, and really an unexpected one. I didn't expect this, knowing how restrictive Port Adelaide usually are. I was sort of expecting, maybe a 90 or a low 100, but to put up the highest score for this game was very pleasant to see. Unfortunately, didn't make my captains just due to that matchup, but he just seems to be getting it done every single week, and he is actually the highest averaging player so far this season, so that's really pleasing to see. And again, he's still quite unique in the top 10,000, so happy with that. Nick Martin got it done again, even in a restrictive matchup, as I said, 114, really happy with that. His cash just going way up, and the way the teammates use him is filthy, and his time on ground is unreal. So yeah, definitely if you don't have him, need to get on him. He is just elite now. And again, no one else really super to mention there. Obviously, maybe Perkins. I know some people jumped on him earlier this season. Skilled 62. Obviously, got injured, I think. Got injured. So only spent the 50% of time on ground. So disappointing for owners if you jumped on him. What a fall from grace after that big score in the opening round. I think it was round 1. So let's move on to the next game. West Coast Eagles versus Sydney Swans. This was a tighter game than what I sort of expected. West Coast really took it to them in the first half before fading late, as you do with a few rookies. So Liam Duggan did really well. He's so hard to read sometimes. Did he have CBAs this week? Who knows? He's just up and down really crazily. Where he's sort of just missed to fix it for them, I think. No, didn't have any. Am I reading this right? Yeah, no CBAs this week. So definitely played in the half-back role and just racked it up back there, 12 marks. So you'd be happier with it as an owner and could be a pot if you're looking to go off him. I can't trust his role. He's always up and down too much. Seems to have settled back down a little bit where he's playing a bit more defensive. So hopefully that's where he stays and can be a bit more consistent back there. Elliot Yeo put up another decent score. Really happy with that. Getting it done and definitely looking at holding him for a fair while now. If you said to me pre-season if I got 4 games and he was averaging 96, I'd be very happy with that. So one to keep a hold of for now. He's making some good coin. So what do you go up this week? 45k. So yeah, been awesome so far. But everyone has him, so not too much to worry about there. Couple others here. Just Harley Reid put up a decent score for the first time this year. Looked to have like a breakout game really, because I saw some ridiculous stat that he had 7 broken tackles in this game, which is close to a record, I believe. I think the record was 8, and he put up a 7. So, but now he's leading the way for most broken tackles in the season. I got above Dusty Martin and Jack Steele and those sort of guys that are renowned for doing it. He's gone and done it better than them. So he has a very bright future, and hopefully with his future comes some good fantasy scores for us, because he's going to be sticking around for a while. But yeah, it was good to see the people that held him, that he put up a good score and has really started his cash generation again. Negative 18, so he's going to make some good coin. Made 39k. Really happy with that. Pushed into the 400Ks, which makes it only easier to get him up to a better player in the end of the day. No one else from West Coast. I think we're all aware of that. Nothing else too surprising there. On to Sydney Swans. I obviously kind of spoke about these guys before in terms of the buy. Errol Gordon did quite well, 127. So he's bottomed out in price, and probably look to jump on him after his buy if you can. Isaac Heaney got it done again. Probably was a bit downer than what he's obviously put up his lowest score for the season. Scored 2 goals, wasn't getting much done around the field. Didn't have as many marks as he usually does. Not too much to worry about there. Chad Warner's just sneakily getting it done every single week, I think. I don't know what she's actually averaging, but probably not one I'm looking at this point in time. Just with, a few other better premiums at that price. So Brodie Grundy got it done just with a 93. Sort of expected a bit more, to be honest, with such a soft matchup. So a 93 probably was a little bit disappointing, but as an owner, I'm happy that he at least got there, because he just doesn't look good to me. Taylor Adams is an interesting one. Got subbed out. Only had the 59% time on ground. I don't think it was any injury risk. I think it was just management to ease him back into the game. I think by the time they subbed him out, I think they pretty much had it in hand. So, they were happy to take him out and let the rookie come on. So, but scored a 79 in that time, which is kind of crazy. So, definitely a big watch on him. He should have made my watch list, to be honest. But, once he gets his time back on ground, backed up to full, because what is he priced at? I know we all were looking at him in the preseason, but he actually went down in price. So, Very minimal. Probably wouldn't even wait for it if you're keen on him, and probably just need to see one more game for him in round 6 to be like, okay, he's back to full fitness and he's got no injuries and he's ready to go. We can probably jump on into him and he could very much push those top 6 forwards. So could shake a few things up for sure. Matty Roberts saved his score late. I think he was on for quite a stink. I think he was at like 25 at like 3/4 time or something like that, and had a big last term or last half and got to a 69. So happy with that, especially because I think most people have fielded him. Similarly with Jordan, probably saved it with a 60. Just wasn't getting it done. Again, was very poor in the first half and was lucky to get there. And I think most people are going to jump off him this week. I'm definitely looking at doing something similar as it's his bye and he can go. So he's done the job. Moving on to the next game, got 5 more to go through. Sorry guys, I don't mean for these to go too long, but there's so many players to talk about that we all need to consider. So Hayden Young absolutely killed it, 108. I'll just start going through these a bit quicker because we already know so many of these guys. Jeremy Sharp, he was one that most people had benched, which is disappointing. But yeah, put up the highest rookie score for the season and is one that we'll have to put in a bit more consideration now, considering he has shown a good ceiling, which we all sort of know he was aware of, but he just hadn't seen it yet this season. So definitely have to be aware of that one. So he's got to make some good coin. Jordan Clark got it done again. Mr. Consistent at this point, just going at that 97. Interestingly, he did go over that ton, but then got a few things gone away from him. Obviously, gave away that free kick in the end, which saw them lose, and back to where he's been going at all season. So very funny for those owners that just wanted to see the 3 digits for him, but he's just slow burn, and you're happy with him. So good starting pick. Luke Jackson, probably the last of his good scores, considering that Darcy's coming back next week, more than likely. So I'd probably just be holding him for one more week, see how it goes with with Darcy. At the end of the day, I think Darcy will probably be heavily managed if he does play the AFL. If not, he may play just the waffle for 1 week just to get some match fitness. So definitely look to hold no matter what, even if he is named. So that would be my advice. See how it goes. Luke Ryan had a downer game with a 92. Just wasn't getting the marks which you would normally expect with him. 3, which is extremely low for him, but definitely a floor game. And yeah, wouldn't be too worried. Sorry, 85. I was looking at the wrong one. Wouldn't be too worried about that. So definitely a hold. Caleb Sarong. Now, this was an interesting one because I thought he had a lot of time on the wing from the eye test. And that's a big concern. Where is he? Caleb Sarong. So, yeah. Still had a lot of CBAs, but for some reason he just wasn't scoring very well. I don't know what it was. Maybe just the game didn't suit him. It just seems so hard to own sort of both Caleb Sarong and Brayshaw, because it seems like at any point of the week they could be chopping and changing between who starts wing, who doesn't. So very, very concerning for me, and makes it very hard to really consider to get Sarong in if we know his role isn't consistent. But he looked really good when he is in the guts. So I still think he'll be top sort of 1, 2, if not top 4. Just was a tougher matchup against Carlton. And finally, Nat 5 put up a 78 and was really and as owners really happy with that. Did get pushed forward a little bit in the second half. I don't really know why. I think it was just because he copped a bit of a knock copped a knock pretty early in a contest, and just probably need to spend some time forward and just again self-management in the game. Went forward and was able to take quite a few marks and even take a few shots at goal. So if you put some of those through, that would have been nice. But couldn't convert. So, but at the end of the day, still happy with a 78, and he is making some coin. So definitely one I'm still holding on to for now. If you want to move him on, you can. I personally have other issues that I want to address first. On to Carlton, not too many fantasy-friendly people at the top there. It was a very defenders game, just looking at those names there. So, seems like it was spent a lot of time in their back line with a lot of chip. So, but George Hewitt, again, was disappointing. Just seems to be going one good, one bad, one good, one bad. He's doing a lot of a defensive midfielder role, so he's doing a bit of tagging, so big flag, not someone I'm super interested in, but just because I know a few people have him, he's made the watch list. Zach Williams had a pretty good game in the first 3 quarters, just couldn't get it, couldn't put 4 quarters together and get up to, an 80. So that was disappointing to see, and did come off in the last 2 or 3 minutes with a injury. It's still yet to sort of be seen about what outcome is of that. Obviously, Tuesday we will get the injury report and we'll be able to tell, but from all reports, and I think what the coach said was that it wasn't anything significant to be worried about. I think it was just like an assessment on the calf or something like that, so which is sort of to be expected. Is obviously only a handful of games back from his ACL, so just a bit of management here and there as to be expected, and a bit of cramping whatnot, so big watch on him. Hopefully he is up and ready to go for the weekend, because he is still making some decent coin if you want him, if you're still going to keep him. My preference is to keep him for now, just best 18, even if he does put up a stinker, it can drop off, and he won't lose that much cash anyway, so that's just my thoughts. Nick Newman, he's just been really disappointing after I thought he'd go big this year, with no Dacos, and probably is one that's not worth looking at anymore. And Elijah Hewitt is just the summary of why you don't jump on people after one round. Obviously put up a 106 last week, and had to wait 1 week, and now he was out with an injury, so very disappointing for him, and definitely for those people that jumped on him, but most people did not. On to Brisbane, Western Bulldogs and the Cats. Like I said, Marcus Bontempelli absolutely killed it. Looked fit and healthy. Was a super good matchup for midfielders in this game. Obviously, you look at the top 3 scorers here. Libba, Treloar, all went above 125. All had over 35 touches. Lots of tackles and a couple marks here and there. So it was just a very friendly matchup, and probably one that we should be targeting in the future against the Cats while Dangerfield is out, which I think he's back this week, so who knows what happened. English, another poor game, which is very disappointing. I don't know what's going on with English. He just doesn't look the same as he did last year. Hasn't really hit a ceiling. He's dropping in cash quite quickly, so big watch on him. Definitely one I'm not looking at bringing in at this stage. And Riley Sanders put up a decent score for us, which was really nice to see for us that had benched Sharp before. Was good. He was able to close that gap and very minimise the damage. So he's kicking his cash generation into another gear, and he's looking to be one of the better guys out of those 4. And lastly, just Gallagher probably was the rookie to go to over a Thomas last week. Wish I sort of stuck to my own advice and went for him. Just sort of got talked into going to Thomas instead. Just looks like he's a safe 50 and has shown a ceiling of 90. So, he looks like he's cemented in that side. He looks really good. So, if you jumped on him, good job. Really, really is a good pick, and I think he's quite unique now. So, definitely a good one. The Cats, not too many names here. Holmes put up another decent score, but nothing amazing. Stewart probably was disappointing for those that traded him in and that have held him for the start of the season, which is very unusual considering what we normally expect from the Bulldogs. We're giving up a fair few points to defenders, just wasn't getting amongst it. I don't know why. I didn't get to watch this game too heavily. Oliver Dempsey was a great pickup. He scored 72, so you're happy with that. Obviously rising in price. And Jai Clark got subbed out, unfortunately, but it was only tactical, so he'll be back next week, you'd think. Scored the 35, but has got his cash going in the right direction, so it's nice to see. All right, try and fly through these next few games. Flanders went to the halfback role, very interesting. Definitely played quite well and got some praises from the coach. So definitely one I'd be considering jumping on. This was a tough matchup, so he could easily go 120. I see in the future, and especially up against Hawthorn this week, he could go big. So if you're looking at jumping on him, I'd definitely be doing it. I think most people will. Sam Closely. Sorry if I don't pronounce that right. I've just heard it's Closely, so I'm just going to go with that. Is the rookie pickup of the week. Is Brown priced about 257 or something like that as a defender rookie, so we all know that we've been crying out for some defender rookies to come through, and we've got one of the best that we've had in quite a few years, because he just looked super fit and looked up to the standard in the AFL. So if he holds his spot, which I can't imagine he won't, he spent 92 time on ground, which is crazy to think. So yeah, definitely be looking to pick him up. He's got a super low break even. He's going to make a bunch of cash. He's probably even a fieldable option, especially in the best 22. Took Miller had a poorer game this week, obviously with a tough matchup, sort of what we sort of expected, but yeah, expecting to bounce back next week. Just wasn't getting amongst the tackles, and it was quite a low tackle game when you look at these numbers, unfortunately. Just wasn't super contested. So that's just what you get sometimes with these games, especially it was in the Adelaide Hills, so yeah, you never know. And that's probably leading on to a guy like Tom Green. Yeah, again, had the 8 tackles, so he was sort of getting amongst it, and he was working really hard, as we know he does, being a fantasy player. But yeah, wasn't able to get his hands on the ball enough, and gave away a few free kicks. So really disappointing for owners, especially for those that captained him. But Lockie Whitfield had an injury scare in the second quarter where he came off with a complaint with his vision, and spent at least that half of that quarter off getting assessed. Luckily came back on and was able to turn up in the end. So really pleased with that, and yeah, he looks really good when he's on the field. So happy with that. Cadman put up a decent score for those that have him and making some money. So you'd be happy with him. Definitely a hold for now. And we already spoke about Thomas being really poor. Only had the 6 touches in 52% time on ground. So really disappointing. For the Tigers, I've still got Short as a watch list. Just, yeah, we know he's quite cheap, and if he can get that role back as a key defender, we know what he's capable of. Just doesn't look like it at the moment, and he's sharing a lot with Dan Rowley, so a bit unfortunate for those owners that have him. I don't think many people have still on him anymore. Trento is probably one to watch as well. Just, yeah, is putting up some decent scores. But as I said, it is a lot to do with Hopper being out and Prestia. So big watch them when they return for me. But at the end of the day, if they come back, he's still put up like close to 110s for the back end of last year. So he can be around that mark and you'd be happy with him, especially with how cheap he is at the moment. Seth Campbell's just getting it done for those coaches that own him, particularly me. Really happy with how he's been going, and he's been one of the shining lights as a cash generator, so happy with him. Moving on to St Kilda, Royal Marshall just had a blinder of a game, 136, absolutely killed it in a pretty friendly matchup. Looked like it was quite contested, obviously being at Norwood Oval, being quite slimmer, so they had a lot of hit-outs, so it allowed a lot more of those tackles and even marks for these guys, so you'd be really happy if you owned him. I'm personally looking at jumping on him this week if I can. Jack Steele did what we sort of thought he would, a much smaller ground in a contested game. 10 tackles was really nice to see, and even the 33 touches just looks to be back to that Jack Steele of old, and he is definitely one that you need to jump on sooner rather than later before he gets too expensive. Wanganeen Malera jumped up again this week after a poorer game last week, so it's going to be very hard to read with how he goes on a week-to-week basis. He just seems to be jumping up and down like a yo-yo at this point in time, but I think he averages over 100 for the season, so not too much to worry about there. Has shown a good ceiling, and has definitely taken probably the ceiling off of Sinclair is probably the reason why I'm not looking at going to him at this point in time. Riley Bonner put up a 94. Yeah, that's very respectable. Happy with that. Probably should have cracked a ton, but slowed down in that fourth quarter. And I already said about Darcy Wilson, just putting up a nice score for those that held him. I think he had a big second quarter, which he had like 30 points. So would be nice if he can continue some form like that, but I don't think that's sustainable. So, but definitely look to hold him. I think his break-even's pretty low now. On to the final game. Hopefully I can keep this under an hour. Nick Dacos, like I said, 95, you'd be happy as an owner, and I wouldn't be moving off of him. Kyle Amon probably showed us what we wanted to for in the preseason, and probably repaid some faith that the owners that have held him. Looked really good in this game. Had nearly 30 touches and 7 marks, so that was really good. I think he took most of the kickouts, which was positive. Nick Jai Newcomb repaid the faith for all those that are probably still holding him. Put up a 98, probably a little bit disappointing. Didn't to not crack a ton, but definitely a lot better than what he's been putting up recently. So you'd be happy with that. He's got his tackles up there. Didn't quite get the marks. Dan Rozee, obviously I said it was quite disappointing with a 55, only 65% time on ground. Was really disappointing, and is definitely a concern with Hawthorn not utilising him as best as that he could, knowing how damaging he can be. So hopefully he can recapture some of that early round form, so we can hold him to him for a little bit longer. And then Cam McKenzie probably has done the job now and can move off of him after being an up and down sort of starting pick. But yes, that's sort of all I had for the games. Hopefully that gives you some insight of who I was watching and who to consider for this week. So before I leave you guys, I normally just go through what I'm sort of thinking in terms of my early round trades. So I've got a few options so far. So let me just go into the trade center and let me pull up my screenshots that I've got going on. So I've got a couple options here, just to talk off the top. So definitely looking to move off Jordan. That's definitely a consistent one. And Grundy. So this is my preferences, and this is what I was looking at doing, a couple weeks ago, which is what I've been planning to do. And I was using DPP to get in a Closey. So this is one option. Allows me to have 2 ruckmen on in the bye with Ron Marshall. Should be a hold this for the remainder of the year. Bit of a flag on Ron Marshall though, with the coach saying that they may manage him at some stage with Tom Campbell coming into do a job. Obviously, if that happens and that he's named, then I'm not doing this. I'll just hold Grundy and reassess at a lot later stage. Don't think I'm keen to jump onto a Tim English just yet. I think I'll be better off holding Grundy as he's averaging in a 90 anyway. But definitely want to pick up Closey as he is going to make some good cash. Another option I had was instead of going... bring Grundy back. Instead of getting Closey, I could go a Combin, as that sort of worked quite well for what I had. Left me 1k in the bank, so that felt pretty good that I could do that. Probably works a little bit better for my structure in terms of, Combin can be a fielder option where I can't actually fit Closey on my field at this point in time, just having all the defenders back there, and I can't actually even move anyone into the forward. I could probably move Yo into the forward line, but then which of the midfielder rookies am I taking out then? It's a bit of a like for like either way, whether I'm fielding Closey or I'm fielding one of those 3, and I probably have a bit more faith that these guys can do it week in, week out. We've seen 4 games rather than 1 game, so that's just something to consider and probably one I'm looking at. The only other option is if, say, Ron Marshall is named with Tom Campbell, then I'll go without a Grundy and I'll trade, say, a Williams if he is injured, and I'll go Closey as 1, and I was going to go with, where is it? I can't even remember now, even though I just did just before this. And a Flanders, so. Flanders, is that how you spell it? Flanders, there we go. Yeah, just jumping on what everyone else is doing. I think this is a pretty common trade-in targets for this week. Most people will be doing it with a James Jordan and a Howes. Obviously, jumping off him, just need a bit of coin to do that, unfortunately, and I can't do that at this point in time. So, so I'll show you now. I am 67k short of doing that, so that would have been really nice. But yeah, definitely don't have cash for that, and there's definitely a few options to weigh up. Could even trade out a Dan Rozee at the end of the day. He's lost his cash generation is done, whereas the Williams isn't. So definitely a few options I'm looking at this week, but I think I'll lean towards the first one as that's what I've been planning to do, and I'm probably backing that in to be the best option. What am I doing? Marshall, and it's not gonna work now. Marshall and Closey. Sorry guys, don't know why this is being such a pain. Just confirm that, get that done, just to show you, and then obviously I'll make a few adjustments here and there to put some people on my field here and there. I've obviously, trade them out. Good captain option as well this week up against Briggsy, so I'm happy with that. Yeah, but we'll get into those in the preview series, which will happen on Wednesday night, sorry. So, and you'll probably see that sort of Thursday morning. So, but yep, that's it for the review episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Again, hopefully everyone enjoyed Gather Round and had some success this round. There's definitely a few big scores out there, and would have seen a fair few people jump around. So that's it for me. Hopefully you've had a good one. I'll see you later.